How you doing? This is Stanford Smith with Pushing Social. And I get a lot of requests and a lot of questions around how to set up your blog and how to get it configured correctly and how to download the right themes and which themes to choose and just a ton of different questions around the basics of blogging. Now, I go through a lot of different processes and techniques to set up my blogs, and I must spend 40, 50 hours a week on blogging. And it occurred to me that how about I start recording some of the things that I do to set up a blog and recording some of the processes I go through and allow you to be able to kind of watch over my shoulder so that you can learn alongside with me. I've created a lot of shortcuts over the years and I'm getting pretty good at kind of setting up a blog pretty quickly, and I just wanted to make sure that you can get the benefit of what I've learned and you probably can save yourself a little bit of time. So what I want to start with, and this is probably the hardest thing to start, which is how to set up your own WordPress blog on your own server. Now, these are not going to be in depth videos. Really, I want them to be quick, easy glimpses into how to get the process done. So, I'm not going to go into a lot of technical detail, which will make this a perfect starter for someone who is just getting up and going with their blog. I do everything on a Mac. So I'm sorry if you're a PC user, but a lot of the things that I show you is easily transferable over to a PC. And if I think about it, and I will make sure that I tell you what the differences are between a PC and a Mac and some of these setup procedures. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set up a quick WordPress blog, just to get it set up and ready so you can see how it's done, and then maybe you can get some hints and some tips from how I get this done. So let's dive on in and get this up and running. So the first thing you want to do when you set up your WordPress blog is actually to go to WordPress.org and download the latest version of WordPress. So let me go back to the home page here, and you'll see that from the home page you'll have your download WordPress 3.1.2, which will be the latest version. You go ahead and click that and it'll take you through to this page, and you go ahead and download it from there. On a Mac, it'll bring up this this window here, and you can see that it'll go ahead and download it as a zip file. So after you've gone and done that, you want to go ahead and save it to a place that you can get to pretty quickly. And then from there, you want to pull up something called FileZilla or your FTP software. I use FileZilla. It is available on the Mac as well as the PC. So it is by far the easiest piece of software that I've used to do FTP uploading. Now you'll need an FTP software to be able to take your files from your computer and upload them to your server. Now your server is your host, and you can set up your host at either GoDaddy or HostGator, and once you do, they'll give you an FTP address and they'll give you an FTP password, and this is what you actually will plug into your FTP software to be able to access your server and be able to upload your WordPress files. So from here, you just want to go ahead and find your WordPress file that you downloaded. On my system, it's just WordPress 8. Okay, and it actually would be WordPress, but I have multiple versions of WordPress that I've downloaded, so don't be confused by that. You want to go ahead and connect to your host, and in this case I'm connecting to Pushing Social, and I'm going to jump into my www file. It could also be on your system, it could be public, or it could be public underscore HTML, or it could be home. It just depends on your www or your World Wide Web file. Just depends on how your server is set up. So I won't go into a lot of detail there, but you want to get to the file where you would place you want to get to the directory where you will place your files that will be accessed and be available on the World Wide Web. Here I'm just going to create a directory, and I'm just going to call it test. Maybe test 2, because I'm sure I have another test directory here. So this gives me a nice little area to upload this file for you to be able to see. Okay, so I'm just uploading my test. I've just went to my test area, and what I want to do is actually go over here to WordPress 8 and click on it, and in FileZilla it will open up all my files. So I just want to select all of those files and just drag them over to my empty directory here. And it's going to do its thing really quickly here, and it's uploading all of my WordPress files to my directory that I just set up. Now while it's doing that, let me just pop on over, and what we need to do is when you set up a WordPress site, you also need to set up your database, which will hold all of your posts and your comments and pictures and all the good stuff that makes WordPress go. And the easy way to do this is that when you set up your host, you want to set it up so it has a C panel. And the C panel is just a control panel that allows you to do all the nuts and bolts things, the back end things that you'll need to get accomplished on your website. So cPanel handles everything. And here's just a glimpse of the cPanel on the back end of Pushing Social, and it allows you to see all of the lets you set up databases, lets you password protect files, it allows you to set up email accounts, the whole 9 yards. What we want to do is actually go into MySQL databases and be able to set up a database for your new WordPress blog. So here we're just going to I'm just going to call it WordPress test. Can't make it that long, so we'll just go WordP test, and we'll create the database. And just that quickly, it creates a database for me. Okay, and you want to remember your database name because you're going to need that at a later point. Okay, so the database name is there. Remember that. Go back. And another thing that you will want to do is that you need to add yourself as a user to your database. Okay, so how you'll do that is that you'll see here MySQL users. You can add a new user. So you will go through this process to add a new user, or if you've already set up a WordPress database before, you can go ahead and add yourself to the database that you just set up. So I'll go ahead and do that really quick off screen, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, so let's go on back to FileZilla and see how we've done. So I've popped back into FileZilla, and you'll see that I've successfully uploaded all of the files to my database, okay, or uploaded all of my files to my server. So the next piece that you want to do is that you want to actually go in to your WP config sample file here, okay, and you can right click on that and hit view edit, and it will bring up this file for you. Now this file is super important because this is where you put all of the information about your database and your username that you assign to that database and the password that you've assigned to the database. So this is under your wp config-sample.php. Okay, so you want to go ahead and put your database name here, and I can go ahead and show you this. This is going to be WP. And remember, I told you earlier that you want to save this name, or you want to make sure that you remember what your database name was. So it was www.push underscore WP test. Okay, and under here you want to put the username that you have assigned. Okay, and then you want to go ahead and put your password here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just go offline really quickly and put that information in there, and then I'll take you to the next step. Okay, now that you've changed that file, what you want to do is actually go ahead and change this file's name so it takes out the dash sample. So it's wp-config.php. Okay, and from there you want to go back to your browser. Now if you've done everything correctly, then it should be some magic happening here. You should have pure WordPress nirvana because it should have set up successfully for you. So let's go ahead and let's put in be pushing social, right, and the directory. So I love it when it doesn't work out exactly as planned because it's a great learning process for you. So it says here error establishing a database connection. So what happened there is that within my file that I'll show you here, I haven't set up in my WP config file. I didn't set it up correctly. So what I want to do is I want to go back into that file and make sure I've checked my database name, my username, and my password was in that file or placed in that file correctly. So here, I'll open it up here so you can see the areas that we have to check again. So we'll go ahead, edit, open that. So here we want to make sure, go back in there and check the database name. We want to make sure that the username is in there correctly, and we want to make sure the password is in there correctly. Okay, so to double check your database username and password, then and database name, you'll want to go back into your cPanel and then go through and just double check all of the users in your database name and make sure that they line up with what you put in that config file. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and take a quick look here. So WWP word, I see, I used the wrong I did use the wrong database name here for this, so that's probably what's giving me the error. So I'm going to go ahead and correct that and come back and see if we actually correct the problem. Okay, so I've gone back in, I've checked everything that's in that WP config file. I did notice I did have the wrong database name put in there, so I fat fingered that and misspelled something. So I think that's going to that's going to correct the problem. So we're going to go back into Firefox and see if this database error shows up for me again. So we're going to go ahead and hit refresh, and it looks like everything is correct now. So what you want to do at this stage is you go in and you just put in your site title, username, password, and all that other kind of good stuff, and hit install WordPress, follow the prompts, and you'll be all set to go. So again, that's the easy way of setting up WordPress. When you get good at it, it usually takes about 5 or 6 minutes to set up a new blog, and you'll be on your way. So in the next one, I'll show you how to kind of set up your initial configuration of your blog in the next video. I think that's a great topic to cover next. And like I said, I'll continue to add these videos as I come across new things that I think you'll like to learn.